All right, everybody, welcome back. I think we all know that sinking feeling, when that work trip pops up on the calendar and you're already kind of bracing yourself for, missing your partner or family or whoever it is you're going to be miles away from.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That feeling of, here we go again.
Exactly.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing, right? Like it's not always easy keeping those connections strong when you're constantly on the go. So that's what we're diving into today. You found this really cool article, 5 tips for staying connected while traveling for work. And I got to say, it's got some pretty clever stuff, beyond the obvious, just call more kind of advice.
Yeah, it really digs into, well, I guess you could say the psychology of connection, right? Like
Yeah.
those little things that make a big difference when you can't actually be together.
Okay, so let's break it down. Tip number 1 is all about communication, like regular communication, calls, texts, video chats, all that. But it's not just about doing it. It's about being intentional.
Exactly. Like building in these little anchors, amidst all the craziness of travel. So think about it this way. If you schedule a quick text, like a good morning, miss you type thing, or even a dedicated video chat, once a week, it actually adds like predictability to the relationship.
Oh, that's interesting
Yeah.
because then you have something to look forward to, right?
Totally. It's
Okay.
like a little ritual that says, hey, even though we're physically apart, we're still connected. And just knowing you have that virtual date night coming up, that can make a huge difference, honestly.
You know what? It's so funny you say that because my partner and we started doing this morning coffee video chat thing whenever I'm on a trip. And I know it sounds corny, but just that little bit of FaceTime first thing in the morning, it really does make it feel like we're starting the day together.
It makes perfect sense. It's a little pocket of normalcy, in an otherwise not so normal routine. And those little rituals, man, they can be surprisingly powerful. But speaking of powerful, this next tip about going beyond just like generic souvenirs, actually getting something personalized, that really stuck with me.
Oh, tell me more about this.
Yeah.
I love personalized gifts. That's
Yeah.
like, you actually put some thought into it.
Right. It shows your loved one you're thinking about them, but not just in a general way, in a way that's specific to your relationship. Like, let's say your partner mentions they're craving tacos while you're gone. Well, what if you surprise them with a delivery from their favorite taco place? You could even do it while you're on a video call. It's thoughtful, it's personal, and it creates this shared experience even when you're apart.
That's brilliant. See, this is why I love these deep dives. It really gets you thinking outside the box. Okay, but let's be real for a second. Finding time for these grand gestures, it can be tough when you're trying to juggle a busy work schedule. Which leads us to the next tip, planning visits whenever possible. Now, I know that might sound a little unrealistic when your calendar's already jam-packed, but the article makes a really good point about how to reframe that whole idea.
Exactly. Instead of thinking of it as another obligation, think of it as a mini adventure, a chance to break up the routine and do something exciting together. Maybe you extend that business trip by a day or two and explore a nearby city together. Or if your schedules somehow magically align, you could even choose a meeting spot that's convenient for both of you and just like squeeze in some quality time.
Okay, that's actually doable. It's all about perspective, right? And finding those little windows of opportunity.
Yeah.
But what about when you are back home? After being apart for a while, how do you make the most of that precious time together? The article really emphasizes quality over quantity.
Yeah, and that's huge because it's so easy to fall back into old routines when you're back in your familiar environment without really truly reconnecting. But gotta remember, your partner's probably been looking forward to having your undivided attention. So put away the phone, resist those work emails, and just be present. Plan a special activity, have a real conversation, even just cuddle up and watch a movie together. It's all about sending the message that they're your priority.
That makes total sense. And it reminds me of the last tip from the guide, which is all about sharing experiences, even when you're miles apart.
And this goes beyond just, giving a quick rundown of your day. It's about actively listening and being genuinely interested in what the other person's going through. Ask specific questions, connect their experiences to things happening back home, and share details that make them feel like they're a part of your journey, even if they're not physically there. Those little things really do add up.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that staying connected while traveling for work, it does take effort, but it's all about those small, consistent actions that make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And here's a little something to think about, as we wrap up. These principles, they don't just apply to physical distance. What about emotional distance?
Hmm.
How can you apply these same tips to create deeper connections with the people you care about, even when you're in the same room? Something to ponder, as you navigate all the ins and outs of your own relationships.
Ooh, good one. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.